Hello, Gothic literature lovers and horror fans. I am J.S. Larimore, aka Jax, and today in the studio I will be welcoming Damon Barret Roe. This is the pen name for a 30 something author, poet, and editor at Quill and Crow Publishing House, obsessed with all things horrific and fantastic. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology that, according to her in true millennial fashion, she has no intention of using. Damon is a proud Latina who was raised all over the world in a multicultural home and often channels this upbringing, her queer orientation, and an unquenchable bloodlust into her writing. This should be an excellent interview, and I can't wait to have Damon in my studio. So, without further ado, welcome to Ravens and Writing Desks. Damon Barret Roe, welcome to Ravens and Writing Desks. Thank you so much for being here. This is Damon Barret Roe. She's a dear friend of mine, a colleague, and a co-author on Dark Side of Purity, project we worked on recently that's very dear to both of us. How are you tonight?
I'm good, thanks. I'm nervous, but I'm good.
Nothing to worry about. You're gonna do great. I know it. So, one thing I really wanted to talk to you about was editing because you're the first editor to be on the show, and you work with Quill and Crow Publishing, both on the magazine and on their anthology. So, tell me a little bit about what you guys look for in as far as acquisitions go and how the editing process works.
So, for the acquisition side of things, the first thing that we're looking for is obviously Gothic stories, but we tend to give our writers a little bit of wiggle room there. So, like with Gothic stories, most of the time you don't really get that in modern settings. So, having a submission come to us and it's in a modern setting kind of it diminishes the chances a little bit of it getting accepted just because a lot of the gothic feel of it is very atmospheric, very sort of era
Right.
appropriate for a long time ago. So, that's one of the ways that we sort through acquisitions to make sure that we're getting the gothic type of stories. For the ones where we have a little bit more wiggle room, that tends to happen more on the magazine. Like we will publish modern stories much more often there. We like have a little bit more room to play. So we will go through the stories and cut out any that don't respect the submission guidelines. So that's the first thing is please read the guidelines. They
Very
are
important.
Oh my goodness. There and the thing is like sometimes we would love to accept stories, but because we're trying to make sure we don't make exceptions unless they're absolutely like mind-blowingly special, we have to cut things down like that to keep it fair.
Right.
Um the biggest thing I'm going to say is please if you are submitting a story with some of the trigger warnings that we ask for a heads up on the guidelines. If you don't put it in the query, we're not going to read the story. Like we're not going to give it a chance.
Right.
So for acquisitions, that's basically what it is. Like we like to give out prompt ideas for the magazine that's just the theme. So the next theme that we'll be publishing, which we're already closed for, is Wicked Fae. Um,
Ooh.
and we kind of let people play with that. So but then for the anthologies, like the next one that we still have open until the 1st of April, it's Shakespeare retellings. So
Right.
it's a little bit stricter in the sense that it has to be a Shakespeare retelling. It can't just be something loosely inspired by, it's got to be a retelling.
Right.
That's, with the anthologies, it's a bit stricter. But yeah, that's basically how we go through stuff. Um, the magazine is much more like you'll have a better chance of really playing over there. And then with the anthologies, we really expect some high quality drafting. We don't want basic typos that are all over the place, that kind of thing.
Right.
So that's basically the acquisitions. So for the editing, I have my own process for when I edit, and it helps me understand, I think, the writer a little bit more. So when I go through submissions, the first thing I do is I listen to it with the read aloud function on my word processor. So that's the first thing I do. And it kind of helps me get into the headspace of trying to understand the story when it's being read out by someone very monotone. So it
Right?
kind of emphasizes the actual writing because I have to glean what they're trying to say. So
Yeah.
that works for me. Then I'll read it, um, and then I will do both. So I'll do that before I start editing. Once I do, like, I'm not a developmental editor. I'm just going to say that right now. For anything about that, you'll need to talk to Steven. um, that's Stephen Black, who's also at Quill and Crow.
Right.
Um, and then, yeah, my main goal is to guide a writer through their own sentences to make sure they're really packing the punches where they want them to be. So I'll do corrections, obviously, on punctuation, grammar, all that stuff. Make sure the tenses line up, the syntax makes sense, all of that. But where I really love the work is making sure that I'm getting the best shape of every sentence that the writer puts in. I want them to soak in for the reader, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my process. And I will go through every sentence multiple times. I really take my time and I go through it over and over until I think, okay, I think that's all I can do for this. So that's my process. Um, After I do that, I send it to the author and I really encourage them to discuss stuff with me. If they
Yeah.
don't agree with one of my suggestions, I'm like, tell me, let's talk about this. Give me another suggestion. I'm happy to compromise. I'm happy to concede. Like, nothing's set in stone.
Right.
And I really encourage writers to put their foot down if they feel strongly about something. Um, any good editor is going to say, okay, I'm going to listen to what you're saying. I'm going to try to figure out why it matters so much, and we'll figure out the best solution here. That's what a good editor will do for you.
Yeah.
So,
I agree. Yeah. You guys are working together essentially to make the story the best story it can be. So, yeah, I like that. Do you have some editor pet peeves or things that you would like for writers to know that would maybe make the process of working together easier or more cohesive?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask a pet peeve question because I'm actually a super picky editor about a lot of things. So we would be here for 5 hours if I was talking
Okay,
about my pet
take it
peeves.
down to maybe top three.
Okay. One of the first things I really don't want writers to do is overuse dialogue tags. Like it's a huge issue for me if every bit of dialogue is he said, he replied, she yelled. It just gets too much. I really like a balance between dialogue tags, action tags, and no tags. If the writing is clear enough, you won't need them, you
Yeah,
know, but they'll add
I
something.
agree.
Yeah. So that's one of them. Um, let's see. So for the editing process for a writer, it happens so often, but I can pick up when there's been a big change. So like a character name change so often, or a gender change, a pronoun change, those kinds of things. Even a tense change. If you write a story and then you go through it and change it, you have to be so careful because it will just mess the clarity up so much.
Yeah.
Um, so just to be extremely careful about that kind of thing. And for a third one, ooh, I don't know. Now I'm on the spot. I don't know.
Okay, well, we can keep it at two. We can keep it
If
at
I
that.
think of one, I'll tell you.
Okay, tell me a little bit about the magazine. I have a picture here of this month's theme that is up free on quillandcrowpublishinghouse.com. So you are the head honcho on this, right?
Yes.
All right.
So what would you like to know? Like our process or
Yeah, tell me a little bit about the process. How can people submit, and maybe tell me a little bit about the stories that are there this month so people can go check them out.
Sure. So our process is basically pretty simple. I will put out an image. It's usually on my Twitter because I'm very bad at social media in general. So it's on my Twitter, but it's usually a prompt image that goes with the theme. So the current open theme we have is actually haunted houses, which
Ooh,
seems to be pretty popular, and we're open for that until the 10th. So people submit their stories. We've got our guidelines up on the website at quillandcrowpublishinghouse.com /CQ magazine submissions. Like you will find what you need to know there.
okay.
Um, we'll get our submissions and we'll stay open until the 10th of every month. And then on the 11th, the moment I wake up, grab my coffee, go through all the submissions. Um, I tend not to go through them until after the deadline because I don't want to give one story way more time to percolate than another because
Right.
then my brain is going to get addicted to it and like that's not fair. So we do that, and then on the 20th we close for poetry submissions. They also have to be on theme. So yeah, the process is basically the same as when I do acquisitions. I will listen first, read it, then do both. Um, I prioritize stories that are really dark, that
Yeah.
have a sort of style that I haven't seen before, or a concept that feels like a really nice twist on a classic, things like that.
Okay.
So the first story by Kate Kimbrell is The Maiden's Curse, and it's it's a beautiful sort of short idea of the priestess, the hag, and the maiden. Not the hag, the crone. There we go. Um, and how for some witches in a coven, the coven is its family, its foundation, its stability. And then for others, it could be a curse or a burden or something that stops them from really truly living their lives. So
Okay.
this is about the maiden in the trio trying to come to terms with her reality. Um, Woman of Ravens by Lindsay Kroll is actually a Scottish folklore based story.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I was very, very into this story, like virtually immediately. Um, it's just this beautiful story told in two timelines, and it is the main character looking for help, basically, from a, a folkloric old woman. And then the secondary timeline is what led her to that point. And it's very, very dark. There are trigger warnings for a lot of the stories.
Okay.
So I definitely recommend that one too. Um, so Patrick Barb's story last month was a little chaotic for me, so I had to get help from Eli Hayden Loft, our assistant editor, and my
Oh, yes,
sister.
of course.
Yeah. And I had to give her one of the stories, and I had to give her Patrick's story. And oh my god, I was so resentful. I wanted to edit this one so bad. I loved it. I'm very stingy. So this one is Under the Mountain Their Coven Grows, um, which is a title that immediately caught my attention.
Yeah.
So Patrick's story is um, it's about bigotry ultimately, and it is about a coven who has been basically exiled from their village for witchcraft. There's violence there. It is dark, but it's also about the consequences of that hatred.
Yeah.
And it is not what you think it's gonna be, and it's just
Ooh.
highly recommend.
I'm
And
intrigued,
then,
and you're right, the title is grabby, so
right? It's so good. And
jump right
then,
over and read all of these.
please do. Um, and then Witch Weather by Alexandra Amick. Uh, this one, it's a very simple story that is just gorgeous, and the representation in it is unexpected. It adds a little twist towards the end, and it's just very punchy. But it's about a woman and her grandmother living in a home, and a storm rolls in. And so they do their preparations, like salt circles, salt on windowsills and door frames, and just protection, things like that. And then what happens when that protection spell isn't complete? And
Oh.
they're visited by some unwanted people. So,
Oh.
yeah,
Okay.
it's it's very, very good. I really loved all the stories this month, and the poetry as well. It's if you love witch stuff, oh my god, this month was so good.
And how can you not, right?
Right?
So head over to quillandcrowpublishinghouse.com to read all of those stories for absolutely free.
Yes,
All
but
the poems, it's all there for you to read.
yeah, we actually have an extra story and an extra poem in this one because
Oh,
we did a special contest for Black History Month in February.
I remember you.
Um, so these were actually not related to witchcraft necessarily, but they were supernatural and or dark, and I highly, highly recommend. Daphne Shawn was our story winner, and she actually had another story in the magazine back in, I want to say, August, in the Eldridge Seas issue, which
Oh,
again, very good. So yeah. And we have a poetry reading by Olivia Terry herself, reading the poem in this magazine up on my Twitter.
and what is your Twitter handle?
Moonborn Writer.
And
Moonborn with an E at the end.
as
So,
always, this will be linked in the description so you guys can find all of this easily.
yay.
Bring you back up here. Okay, so let's talk about the Dark Side of Purity. That's a project we worked
Oh
on
yeah.
together, and you had an illustrated prose. And did you
It
have
was
a poem
a
as well?
yes, a comic strip and a poem.
Okay, so you had a
So
comic strip and a poem. Okay,
yeah.
which I
So
read, and
the
it was amazing.
thank you. Thank you. Uh, as you know, obviously, I read your story because I edited it.
You sure did.
Yes, and I I love the concept of your story so much.
Thank
Like I
you.
still think about it sometimes and I'm like, it is it is Jax's perfect concept for this anthology specifically. Like
Yes, and I just I put a lot of the project itself is very important to me and to all of us, of course. But I put other parts of my personality, not just my rage and my need to fight what we were fighting against, which, if you guys don't know, the Dark Side of Purity is a feminist project fighting purity culture, and proceeds went to women's reproductive health organizations. It was very near and dear to all of us. It was a project with all women and non binary creators, put out by Band of Bards, which is an excellent comic book publishing house. When they do graphic novels, you guys should check them out. They are just fantastic people, and the
mhm.
project was so important. But besides what we were fighting, I put some of my like horror
Yep.
heart into it. So yeah,
Yep.
and that was why I just love that, that whole concept. You know me and the murder unicorns. So.
Yep. It's so good.
But
Um,
let's talk about. Uh, Remind me. Sorry.
my comic strip is
Yeah,
called The Children with the Purple Posies.
that's right. Purple. Yeah.
Um, so that one is basically just the idea, like it was an allegory for purity culture, but it was basically told from the perspective of a supernatural plant that observed humans and their treatment of nature and each other. So it was very simple. I only had 10 pages to work with, so I tried to pack symbolism into it. Um yeah, that one needs trigger warnings as well actually. Like a fair amount. The only real thing that we see in the comic itself explicitly is some gore and some domestic abuse.
Yeah.
Um, so a lot of the other stuff is implied or kind of hidden. But it's basically just the idea that growing naturally and evolving from what the past generation was is vital to survival. So that was the comic, and then the poem was We Rage Wild, and it was sort of an experimental one, a little bit freeform, not quite, but it was cycling through different eras of patriarchy and
Also
um,
fantastic.
thank you. And that one, like you poured into your story, like I poured a lot of emotion into that one, um, while trying to use a rhythm that might have kept the reader off their footing,
Yeah.
because that's kind of how I feel about the whole subject in general.
I think that a lot well, that we all did. And the last time that you and I were on a stream together, I think we
Yep.
both ended up in tears at one point in time talking about the project, but both
Yep.
angry tears and just yeah, it's a very
Yeah.
emotional project. So I think right now it's just available to the Kickstarter backers. I'm not
hmm
sure how that's gonna moving forward, how that will be available, but
It should be available in a couple of months. We're in March. It should be in the summer at some point. They will be published as in physical copies, as well. And then we have the like volume 3, which is the e-zine, which
the
should
Z.
already be out to backers.
Okay.
Um,
So in the
mhm.
summer, you guys should be able to get that if you were not a backer on the Kickstarter. Um,
Yes, I think so.
I highly recommend it. There was just amazing artists, amazing writers,
Oh my goodness,
amazing
yeah.
poets. Just everybody on the whole project was just outstanding,
Yep.
and it
It
was.
was so good.
I know it was such a big part of all of us for months
Yeah.
and months and months.
And like massive shout out to Elise Russell for putting that whole thing
Oh,
together.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Elise Russell was our curator on that project.
Mhm.
She's just a fantastic, she does a lot of anthology curating and she's fantastic. She's easy to work with. She cares about her creators and her
Mhm.
authors and she's just amazing. So big shout out to Elise Russell. Um, we couldn't have done it without her. And to
Nope.
Band of Bards, of course.
Yep, Tim and Chris, they are great. They
Yes.
are. Yeah, and they care too. And I do love how they use their platform for marginalized creators. Like that's huge.
I agree. And I think we all noticed that it's not always the case in that genre.
Nope.
So
No, it's not.
it's nice to see it.
Mhm.
What you have another project you're working on? Can you talk about that, or is that still?
I mean, I can talk about it, but right now it's on hold for reasons that, like life
Yeah,
basically gets in the way. But So I wrote a short story, the first short story that I had intended to write outside of my novel work, which
Mhm.
is not published. I don't know when that's coming out. Don't ask. But it's the
When
first
she
short story.
stops being a perfectionist.
Not gonna happen. You guys are never gonna see this. Um, but no, so it's a short story that I wrote for specifically for an anthology call, and it was rejected, which fair enough. But I loved the story, and Elise actually was the one who insisted that I don't just let it fall to the wayside after the rejection. I was kind of just gonna shelve it and just figure out at some other point what to do with it. And she was like, or we make it a graphic novel.
Is
So,
this is Star Maker?
mhm.
I love
Star
that story.
Maker.
I love that story so much. It's so
So,
good.
so it's a Greek mythology retelling, and the idea is that Artemis actually abandons the pantheon after she feels betrayed in a few very vital ways, and just her experience trying to exist amongst humans and how the gods continue to interfere. Um, so it's basically that. It's kind of a dark fantasy romance, it's a tragedy, it's all of that good stuff. And Elise found a small team and put it together. And the idea is to get together some pitch pages, which is a few key pages, illustrated, colored, all of that, and ready to send to publishers to see if they're interested. So we got the artist that we hope we'll be able to continue with. It all depends on if life just gives us a chance.
Yeah,
But that's it, basically. It's possibly a graphic novel.
that's so exciting. You deserve it. And that's such a great story. I mean, you guys have no idea. Damon is incredibly talented and she has some stories out there, but the world needs more. They need more.
I know. I need to get to writing more. Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, me too. I know.
Yeah.
Life has been in the way. So I have a
And
book.
where's your short story collection?
I know. I'm working on it. Not really. That's a lie. I haven't done any writing in so long.
Oh my god, it's been a nightmare recently.
I know.
Like,
And then I was like, I need to take a break from some things. And then instead, I went and did auditions for plays.
oh, how did that go though?
I don't know. They're doing some callbacks in a couple days. So I'm maybe by the end of the week, I'll know. We'll
It's
see.
that in between, that waiting, that's the
Yeah, I
worst. Yeah.
know. It went well, though. So we'll see. We'll
Good.
see. Yep. So inevitably on this show, we like to talk a little ghosts and a little paranormal, a little horror stuff. So I know you're into horror movies, and we that's how we met was watching
Hmm.
really bad horror movies.
They're masterpieces. I don't know what you're talking
That's
about.
true. They're really good bad horror movies. So what is your give me two no, three top favorite horror movies?
Okay, when you say favorite, do you mean that I keep going back to, or that were so effective I refuse to touch them again?
Ooh.
Hmm.
Ooh, that's a good question.
I can give you at least two horror movies that I'm never touching again. Um, one of
Okay,
them.
give me two that you keep going back to and two that you'll never watch again because
Okay.
they were that freaky.
I can actually give you three that I'll never go back to.
Okay.
Like, watching them once was plenty. So for the human horror aspect of it is a very, like, I don't think it's that well known. I'm pretty sure it's a British movie called Eden Lake. And it is
I
just,
think I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
it's basically humans being horrific. It's
Ugh.
all about humans being horrific, especially teenagers and young adults. And it is dark, it's tragic, and it's just extremely violent as
Mm.
well. Yeah, so that one scarred me.
Ugh.
Um, Hereditary. I'm never touching again.
That movie was,
It's heavy. It's
yeah, it
so
is.
heavy,
It
and
was
it's
excellent. I won't say
oh my
that it
god, yeah.
wasn't, but it was very effective in what it was
Yes,
trying to do, and it was,
it kept
yeah,
me up.
it
It
was
kept me
heavy.
up. And
I get chills thinking about it.
if it wasn't just like things like it being scary in and of itself, it was also how bleak and and dark the messages were in that
Yeah,
film. Like similar to that one is Midsummer. Um, it was basically a 3-hour movie that just explored how to make you uncomfortable the entire
yeah,
time. From
yeah.
start to
That's,
finish, you can't
yeah,
relax.
that's it. It's you're just like, oh, oh, come on,
Yeah,
come
yeah.
on.
The whole time you're sitting there, you're like, what horrific thing is going to happen now?
It really is.
hmm Yeah. So those three are ones that I saw once. That's enough. I'm good. Um, the ones that I love rewatching. Just the other day, I actually Listen, don't judge my taste too much, okay? But I love going back to movies like Urban Legend. Um,
Oh,
I'm a nut for urban legends and folklore and stuff like that.
I can't judge you. I love that movie, and I
Yes.
do like every year or every 2 years, I do a Scream marathon. So
Oh my god, me too. I
I
do
love
that
them.
too. I also the Halloween movies every October. Um, but the urban legend one came to mind because it's actually partly what inspired my short story in Haunted, the anthology from last May, I want to say. April, May.
Sounds right. Yeah, I think it
Um,
was maybe late
yeah, it
April,
was
early May, somewhere around there. Yeah.
my first published short story inspired by my love of like campfire stories and like the creepy stuff you tell each other in the dark when you're hanging out with your friends, and I
Yeah.
love that stuff. And
Yeah.
then I married that with some supernatural Latino folklore or Latine folklore. Um, but yeah, that was urban legend. What do I mean, obviously Halloween, Scream, I go back to. Um, oh my god, I'm blanking. Oh no! I'm completely blanking!
Well, that one I did say 3 or 2. I mean, that was it.
You did say two, but yeah, I there you go.
Let's see, 2 that I go back to. Um, Cabin in the Woods, I watched that one
Oh my god,
enough
it's so good.
that
I love that movie.
my partner's like, "Are you watching this again?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Why are you
There's a
hating?
murdery unicorn at the end and so much blood.
Yeah,
So much blood at the end.
and it's so like darkly funny.
It is. It's such a good horror comedy, and so
Yep.
I just love it. It's so good. It's
hmm
so hilarious. That one and Trick or Treat I watch a lot.
I knew you were gonna say Trick or Treat.
I
It's so
know.
good. I
I love
haven't seen it in a
Sam.
while.
I
Yeah, Sam
watched
is.
it like last week, I think.
Of course. I
It's
kind
so
of
good.
expect you to do this once a week, honestly.
I do.
No shame.
Ones I don't need to watch ever again. The Descent, just because I'm
Fair.
terribly, terribly claustrophobic, and I'm
That
like,
is very fair.
one's enough. I got up and walked out of the room, and part of that movie, I was like, I can't sit here and watch this girl get crushed. I gotta go. So that one, I'm like, no, thank you. Um, The Girl Next Door is an awful, awful, awfully dark, sad movie based on a true crime, and I do not recommend anybody watching it ever. And I don't
Oh,
need to see
really?
it ever again. Yeah, yeah,
That
it's
one
like a
doesn't
true
sound
crime
familiar at all.
movie. It's bad.
Okay.
It's really just Kind of like you said, Eden, like people being
Crushing.
awful,
Okay.
awful people. Yeah. So I didn't. Yeah, I know never you see that again.
I mean, I 100% believe you, but my morbid curiosity is gonna be like, hey, you know what you should do? You should go destroy yourself with this movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Off the show. I'll give you trigger warnings.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
bad. It's
Okay.
bad. It's bad. It's bad.
Okay. Oh God.
Um.
Okay. What have I done?
So I know that you like Mad Libs.
Oh, yes, I do.
So I have some themed Mad Libs here.
Okay, but how free am I to answer the way that I would? I'm trying to.
Let's keep it um PG-13. Like
All
cuss
right.
words are fine,
Okay.
but yeah, because I
I
don't
will.
put an age restriction.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah.
I'll, I'll do my best.
Okay. Okay. So I'm not gonna tell you what they're called. I'm just gonna so that they're funnier whenever we read them out loud.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one thing I need is an adjective.
Okay. Hirsute.
Pursuit. What was it?
Hirsute. Hirsute.
H R. Spell it one more time.
Hirsute.
Uh-huh.
It
Okay.
means super hairy, basically.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, a plural noun.
Elbows.
Another adjective.
Uh, Gaunt.
A part of the body, plural.
I mean, you said PG-13, so if I say testicles, that's technically PG-13.
Uh, okay,
It's
yeah,
the official name.
I guess that's true.
Really trying to skirt the limits here.
You have to remember that Quill Crow is the sponsor, so
Ah, okay. I'll be good. I'll be good.
I can edit
Spleens.
any of this out though.
Okay, cool. Spleens.
Spleens. Okay. Okay. Another part of the body.
So many body parts.
I know.
The the brain. Why not? Let's see what happens to the poor brain.
Okay, and a noun.
Uh, Pizza. This is
Another
gonna be
noun.
weird. I'm so sorry.
It's gonna be so weird.
What was the next?
Another noun.
Oh my goodness.
It's so many nouns.
Oh. Okay. All right. A chimney.
Another noun.
Oh my god. A hat. I don't know.
Another noun.
What? There, there are not enough nouns in the world. Okay. Scented candle.
And a noun.
Are you serious? Okay.
I'm
Uh,
serious.
okay. A grimoire. Let's do a grimoire.
Good choice. One more noun.
Oh my god.
We're almost done.
Okay, oh my goodness. An empty wine bottle.
Okay, an adjective.
Dang, I should have saved empty.
A
Broken.
noun.
Oh my god. I'm going to develop this like aversion to nouns. Okay, spectacles.
Spectacles. I love that word.
It's such a good word.
It really is. Last one, a noun.
Um, oh my goodness. Okay. My brain's blanking now. Okay, I'm just gonna look at stuff on my desk. Nothing fits. A mug.
Mug. Okay. Okay. This one's called Horror Movies.
Oh no.
Here is a list of the most hirsute horror elbows ever made in Hollywood. Each of these gaunt films received a rating of 2 spleens. Up from Siskel and Ebert. The Hunch Brain of Notre Pizza.
Oh god.
The Chimney of the Living Hat. Scented Candle of Frankenstein.
God, what? This is so dumb. I'm sorry.
Invasion of the Grimoire Snatchers.
And that's just plain theft.
I know. Rude. Empty wine bottle from the Broken Lagoon. Last spectacles on the left.
What? What?
That's a good one. I want to see that. And the Mug of the Opera.
Oh my goodness. I was way too wholesome. I could have made this really horrific, but I'll leave
You
it.
could have.
I could have. But okay. I'm mostly confused by the chimney of the hat. Oh, is that the one?
The living hat. The chimney
The
of the
living hat. But you know what? It could probably work considering there's a movie about like is it a deadly dress or a deadly pair of pants?
I don't know.
There's
Sofa.
Oh my god, the killer sofa!
Yeah.
You know what? You're right. All of these could be masterpieces.
They could be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see the last spectacles on the left. Okay.
Funnily enough, I do actually have a pair of glasses on my left.
Nice.
Yeah. Not even kidding.
Okay, I have 2 more, but one's kind of long.
Okay.
And one
Up
is
to you.
shorter. So if we're at like 42 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's do the shorter one and see how we feel.
Okay.
Okay, first is an adjective.
Oh my goodness. Crunchy.
Okay, an adjective.
Decrepit.
Can I spell that word? Noun, part of the body.
Oh, collarbone. Oh God.
So random.
Every time you giggle in advance, I'm like, what's happening?
No, the collarbone is just so random. Okay, a verb ending in ing.
Hunting.
Another verb?
Ending in ing or just any verb?
No, just a regular verb. Any verb.
Smell. Oh no. What's that face? Oh God.
Another verb?
Eat. I'm just going through the senses now.
Another verb?
Okay. All right, let's see. Regret.
A noun that's a food.
Can we do pizza? No. Potato.
Potato.
I love potato.
Me too. And a verb?
Let's see. Storm.
And another verb?
Ponder.
And a body part?
Throat.
A verb?
Swallow.
This one's very verby. Another verb.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Um, dictate.
One more verb.
Paint.
Paint.
Hmm.
A noun.
Paint. House.
Okay. And part of the body.
Foot.
And an adjective.
Uh, flaccid. I'm very mature. I don't know why you're laughing.
You are just the maturest person I know. All about vampires.
Oh no,
What are
Cassandra's gonna kill
vampires?
me.
Vampires are crunchy. They have decrepit collarbones for hunting blood. The sun can smell vampires, so they can only eat at night and regret during the day.
Oh, hey, that's me.
That's all of us. Vampires also don't like potato. So
What? I knew I hated them. All right. This is why werewolves are the best.
they
This
probably
is
do
why.
like potatoes.
Yeah.
So storm it or ponder it around your throat to keep them away. If a vampire swallows a person and dictates their blood, they become a vampire too. The only way to paint a vampire is with a house through the foot.
What? Someone on acid wrote this. It was
They
not me.
did.
I am not taking responsibility for this. I'm innocent.
But flaccid luck getting close enough to
Oh no. Oh no. Cassandra, I'm so sorry.
No, she's not.
No, I'm not. Oh no, that was quite an ending. Yeah.
Okay, now you can have a few minutes to whew, plug anything you want to plug, projects,
I mean,
socials,
let's
your
see.
magazine, the magazine.
Yes. So the magazine, obviously, at you can find us on the Quill Crow Publishing House.com website. For projects, the Rituals and Grimoires just came out today, which the March issue of the magazine actually has sneak peeks of. So
Ooh.
if anyone's kind of on the fence about getting it, have a look at our sneak peeks. You get decently sized excerpts of every story. And the book itself actually has an accompanying spell written by Melanie Whitlock, our friendly neighborhood witch. Um, so you get 8 stories with 8 spells, and yeah, I highly recommend all our anthologies because obviously I do. I love them.
They are
But
all
definitely,
so good.
I really, it's been such a treat working on them. So the magazine, Rituals and Grimoires, or any of our anthologies, check out the Crow Shop because Cassandra just put out that collection of like skulls and skeletons with flowers and roses, and it is so pretty. It's
I
so
know, so
pretty.
pretty.
It's so
And
pretty.
oh my gosh, the bookmarks and
And
the
the
jewelry.
jewelry.
I know, I want all of it. I'm like,
Yep.
I'm gonna spend a fortune in the crow shop because
Yeah.
there are bat earrings, there are
The moon
pentagrams
bookmark.
with the zodiacs on the outside, earrings
Yeah.
that I am dying for. They are just to die for.
Yeah.
Um, lunar moth jewelry and moon bookmarks and Guys, it's all beautiful, and
Yeah,
Cassandra doesn't sell anything that isn't top notch.
yeah.
So
And
it's all
I
excellent quality.
I can confirm as well. Yeah, the clothes are so soft.
I know.
Yeah. So definitely plugging all the Quill and Crow stuff. Band of Bards, check them out. They have a couple of Kickstarters coming up, and they also have already got a whole bunch of comics and a light novel that I actually had the honor of editing, which was again written by Elise Russell,
Oh, yeah.
um, illustrated by Danny Rivera, who she did the covers for our digital compendiums for the magazine, which I'm working on right now. So you can't see them yet, but the covers are beautiful.
Did she
So
do the covers for Dark Side of Purity as well?
no, that was Heather Vaughn,
Oh, okay. Because
who
I was going to say, I
is
had those right here that I could put up.
yeah, you totally should though, 'cause they're
Okay, these
beautiful,
are our covers for Dark Side of Purity while we're talking about
illustrated.
Band of Bards.
Yeah, so the covers were done by Heather Vaughn, who, if I'm not mistaken, has experience with a few of the big comic publishers. She's very, very talented. Like, I mean, look at these covers; they're stunning.
They're so stunning.
I'm just in love.
I know,
And the
they're beautiful.
unicorn
I
and the
know.
crows.
Ah, so
Fine.
beautiful. Okay, what and your socials are all
They're all Moonborn writer. All of
okay.
them. I'm extremely creative. So
No, that's good and cohesive because mine are all different and not cohesive.
I mean that, but you've got that chaotic, saggy energy. Like,
Yeah,
not
I
well,
know.
saggy, I guess would be
Saggy.
more.
Yep, I'm saggy.
Sorry. For some reason, I always say saggy,
Some
and I don't know why.
some days I am.
Saggy energy, like
So
that.
as always, all of Damon's information will be in the description below. My sponsor, Quill and Crow Publishing House, all of their information will be in the description below. You can check out their socials on Twitter at Quill and Crow Publishing and on TikTok and Instagram at Quill and Crow Publishing House. And their websites are quillandcrowpublishinghouse.com and thecrowshop.com. You can check me out at or on Twitter at Jax2_0, on Instagram at JS Larimore, and on TikTok at Jax the Tiny Raptor. Mm.
The
That is
coolest.
it. I know. One of these days I'm going to do the show in my Raptor onesie.
Oh, please,
I
please do
will.
it.
One of these days I'm going to.
If we'd
Okay.
planned ahead, I would have worn my unicorn one.
Oh, we should have done that. That would have been so cool.
I guess we're refilming.
Yep. Scrap it all. Okay, Damon, thank you for joining me. I had so much fun. I knew I would, and I'm always happy when we get to talk face to face. And
Same.
thank you for
Thank you for
sharing.
having me.
Of course, thank you for sharing all your expertise and advice and stories.
Thank you.
And thank you
I
again
mean,
for
you're welcome.
joining.
Sorry, I just did that thing. Ah, crap.
It's
Okay.
okay. Uh, please like, subscribe, turn on your notifications so you don't miss any more episodes or any episodes. And thank you for joining us on Ravens and Writing Desks.
Thank you. Bye.